Are we at the bottom of the real estate market yet? I'm gonna guess that you tuned into this video to either see whether or not the value of your largest asset has dropped, or you might be thinking that it's time to finally swoop in and grab a sweet deal, or maybe both.
Add it up.
I'm not gonna bore you with numbers today. You can get those stats anywhere. Plus, it's probably very inaccurate as sales volume has dropped significantly. So the transactions at the top and the bottom are greatly skewing everything, and it's hard to make a proper analysis of this all. What's probably obvious is that the MLS sales activity in April has declined 70% as compared to April 2019. That being said, I'm a real estate broker, not an economist. I don't profess to be one. I can say I've been in business for 15 years, and a huge part of my job is to stay up to date with what the experts are actually saying. So here's the short answer. I think we may actually have hit the bottom. Here are the reasons why. A report from the economists at TD say that job losses in March were heavily concentrated in lower wage industries. The hospitality industry, manufacturing, education, agriculture are some of the examples that have been hit the hardest. Based on the millions of job losses in Canada, the majority of them are jobs that are below average wage, in which homeownership rates are probably lower anyway. I know real estate is very expensive, and I'm not saying that the wealth gap is fair. That's a bigger debate, but it is what it is. Doug Ford has just announced a phased approach to reopen businesses safely in Ontario a couple of days ago, and as of May 4th, some businesses are allowed to reopen. Everyone is eager to bring the economy back to normal, with safety as a top priority, of course. These next few weeks will be critical to see if the number of new cases will be trending downwards or not. I have a sense that other businesses will get back to normal sooner than you think. Interest rates are likely going to stay low for a very long time, while unemployment is at an all-time high. The government needs to keep interest rates low to stimulate the economy so that people and businesses borrow money to invest into the economy. Look, prices of new construction isn't going to come down. Maybe it'll push demand for later, or there'll be more incentives for buyers, but not the prices. They're not going to change. Why? Well, here are four main reasons. First, land is not going to get any cheaper. They just aren't making any more of it. And just think about it. If you're a landowner, you've probably held that piece of land for many years, if not decades. So what's the difference if you have to wait a few more years for the market to rebound? Wouldn't you want to make more money than what you bought it for? Second, labor is going to increase due to inflation. Just like the rest of the workforce, construction workers also get a cost of living increase. Not to mention the demand for construction is, or maybe was, at an all-time high, with the most number of cranes up in Toronto than anywhere else in North America. So you can imagine the demand. Third, a lot of the materials are from imported goods, such as windows and steel, and the cost is skyrocketing due to the weakening Canadian dollar from having to keep interest rates low, of course, and the supply chain interruptions. As we start the trend of deglobalization from producing things in Canada, it's going to limit the access to inexpensive manufacturing from other countries like China. That's a direct input cost, which is known as hard costs. Lastly, cities are broke, so they're trying to get more revenue from increasing development levies, and it's kind of getting out of hand. 80 or 90% of the price of a new home are these costs that I just mentioned, which leaves builders with the profit margins of only 10 to 15% or so. There's no room for the price to come down. So just as I said before, demand for new construction may be pushed out a little further as prices are not going to come down, and builders and landowners wouldn't likely be selling at a loss. This means a slowdown in housing starts, as builders aren't going to build until the houses are sold, and as immigration picks up, inventory will be severely repressed because things aren't building. So once demand gets back to normal, we know that we're going to see competing offers on the limited supply of housing stock. It's just the way it is. So same reason as before, most homeowners don't want to sell at a price less than what they bought for. So they just elect not to sell. This is going to create a cascading effect of lack of inventory as people don't have anything to trade into. If downsizers don't have anything to buy or the price isn't right for them to sell, then the upsizer can't find a home to buy in, so they're not going to sell their condos, which closes the loop on first-time home buyers as there's no inventory for them to buy either. For the few homeowners that are on the brink of becoming distressed sellers, the banks have introduced mortgage deferrals, so that's going to stop that. A lot of people are saying that we're going to go into depression. Again, I'm not an economist, but I keep reading that this is an engineered recession versus a complete financial meltdown. It's not fair to compare this to the Great Depression, as the government and central banks didn't have the tools and lessons that we have now. I'm going to put out there, I'm happy to bet you on this, but I don't think we're going to go into depression. Government government stimulus programs are really expensive. There's no way that our tax revenues are going to be enough to replenish a decade of deficit spent in a few short months. The parliamentary budget officer is predicting that we'll have spent $252 billion in Canada by the time that this is over. They're going to need to print a lot more money to pay for those, a lot of it. The nice way of saying it is quantitative easing. On top of the COVID-19 stimulus programs, there's the ever-growing issue of debts and deficits. I just don't understand it. Like, how is Canada and every other country in the world ever going to climb out of this hole and pay off the debts if we run our budgets with a deficit every year? What the government's been doing is stealing from your future earnings by printing more money, essentially counterfeiting money by debasing the currency. They're just inflating the debt away. This is called modern money theory. Look it up. I've spent a lot of time looking this up. There are theories, well, that this whole Ponzi scheme will come crashing down and we'll go back to the gold standard, maybe cryptocurrencies, who knows? But the governments are not going to give away their control to print money. So I think the fiat currency is going to be around for a long time in our lifetime anyway. I think we're not going to be able to service the debt payments, and this is going to cause the whole fractional reserve banking system to crash. Who knows what will happen? So by expanding the money supply out there, it's just going to dilute your buying power. $1,000 in your hand today isn't going to be worth the same amount of money in the near future. Maybe this will lead to hyperinflation, or maybe the deflationary pressures are greater than the government stimulus injected into the economy, so perhaps we won't see much of the consumer inflation, but we'll definitely see it in asset inflation. I'm sure you've noticed and seen the effects of the past 12 years since billions were injected into the economy to support the failing banks and industries in the financial market meltdown in 2008. Notice how assets are much more expensive than compared to the average wage growth. This is going to circle back to the whole wealth gap discussion. It's a big problem, and I don't know what we're going to do about it, but somebody's got to solve that problem, hopefully. Canada is becoming a technology hub with much more innovation coming from here, and immigration will be stronger in Canada while US is shutting down immigration. I think the number of H-1B visas for skilled workers is capped at 85,000 in the States, whereas in Canada it's like something like 3 times that amount. Speaking of technology, completely new industries will be created as a result of new innovation. Millennials will be shifting away from renting and into home ownership as new jobs are created and as they make more money. If you watched this long enough already, I'll give you a bonus. Here are some reasons that may contribute to a decline in real estate prices. Collapsing equity markets have eroded an important source of down payments. If you took a 50% hit in the stock market where your savings were held, you're probably not feeling like you want to cash out at a loss to buy real estate right now. That's going to impact the demand for housing for sure, no doubt about it. Immigration has stalled and basically slowing down the population growth. For investors that purchase units pre-construction and are nearing completion, the pool of potential renters has shrunk in the near term. This may increase the pressure of selling. You know, it's the same for general investors that have units right now. They might, the smaller rental pool, it might actually create some pressure to sell. Of course, due to all the job losses, financial pressures may force some homeowners to sell their properties. However, the mortgage deferral programs offered by some banks may limit the number of households pressed into liquidating their homes through distress selling. So let's see what happens. Okay, remember guys, all this talk and fear will have a hard stop once we find a vaccine for the virus. The entire world is united in finding a solution. People are saying that it's going to be at least 12 months away, but I'm confident in humanity. Life will go on. Until then, be safe, and I'll catch you in my next video. If you want to talk more about this, please give me a shout. Don't forget to comment on this video, good or bad, I don't care, just comment and just let me know how you're feeling, because otherwise I won't know. Just tell me what you think. Thanks for watching.